Hi, I'm Lori Brown. Happy New Year. You have arrived at Pondercast, a completely independent podcast, which means we are supported solely by our listeners. We hope that our work supports you. That is our goal. And if you find it does, we hope you'll consider supporting us, either with a small monthly donation or a one-time annual fee. Go to patreon.com/Pondercast. Okay, let's do it. Let's Pondercast. This episode started with a word. Remember back a couple years ago that Danish-Norwegian word for cozy that took over? Hygge? Well, the Nordic languages have won us over again with a word that seems built for the times that we find ourselves in. It comes from the Swedes, and the word is lagom. I read it in an email from Pondercastronaut Lori Golden, who wrote that she lives in the U.S. and there is a lot she'd like to leave behind this year. She recognizes that if we choose, we can emerge new with a different set of priorities, values, and attitudes that will guide us to a kind of lagom. Lagom? That, Lori, writes about where I want to be when this shit show is over. But where? What is lagom, and how do we get there? Lagom. The translation of the Swedish concept of lagom is enough, sufficient, adequate, just right. In a single word, lagom is said to describe the basis of the Swedish national psyche, one of consensus and equality. I think of it as lagom, the ability to recognize what is enough and letting go of a craving for more than that. Now, this word has already been appropriated by the design community, a kind of new way to say life balance. It's a new kind of minimalistic porn for all of us privileged folks to aspire to. You know the magazine layout, the wide shot of a natural stone counter with one hand-thrown pottery mug on it and a sprig of rosemary beside it. What more do you need? Will lagom soon be added to the heap of sparking joy and hygge? But the emergence of this word had me rifling through the pages of my journal because I have been thinking and writing about something very much like lagom for about a month now. Only my flavor is getting very curious about the idea of moderation in all things. I didn't start there, though. Nearer to the beginning of the lockdown, what got me to moderation is the opposite of moderation, and that's my obsessive, excessive, addictive, compulsive indulgences that pandemic life has uncovered. My craving for more of everything, more feeling, more wonder, more intensity, bigger experiences, living larger, veering from too much of this to too much of that. Too much food, alcohol, sleep, too much isolation. Now this is juicy stuff. Let's start here. You know that feeling. Like the car is out of control and you are on black ice, sliding from indulgence to indulgence. Look out for the ditches. I can't imagine being in my teens or 20s or even most of my 30s without the freedom to go too far. For me, it was a kind of life philosophy to try and make things happen, to get to the edge. To be 19 or 24 or 31 right now, wanting to get going on a career, finding a partner, starting a family, right at the point in life where you are ready to take off. To have to return to your old bedroom at your parents' home and work from the same desk you did your science homework at. To have your social life torn apart. To be told the search for your soulmate is going to have to wait. That is heartbreaking, and that demographic is sacrificing a lot. But we have all been grounded by this pandemic. No more flying high. Coming to ground means confronting some uncomfortable truths about where we stand. There is no running away. We are being forced to recognize and acknowledge this hard place we're in. What we want for ourselves, our endless supply of desires, and what we want to plan for tomorrow, that isn't an option anymore. They can't whisk us away from today's reality like they did before. It's impossible to feel grounded when we are in the thrall of our indulgences. They only offer temporary, blissful relief. To come to ground means we step into the truth of our circumstances, and in the middle of difficulty, we are forced to find a way to live with them. That being grounded means settling for a measured, honest approach. Feels true, though. I've been thinking that it's the only way I'm going to get through this, and I've been trying it on for size. The upsides of moderation, coming to ground, is that we learn to finally trust the ground under our feet, to find support there, and a place to push from that is real. I'm not there yet. But wouldn't that be such a sweet relief from the feeling that most of us have of idling in neutral, in the driveway, with no destination in mind? These times are going to leave a mark on us, like the Depression did for our parents and grandparents. And this mark may well give rise to a shifting of priorities, to a change in appetite. We are discovering how to get by, like generations before us, by just making it up as we muddle through. Moderation in all things, though, is not just born of hard times. It is a way to be in the world that is as old as the hills. From the fourth essential text of Confucius, to Buddha's middle way, to Aristotle's there is measure in all things, to Socrates, to the poet Hesiod in 700 BC, observe due measure, moderation is best in all things. Actually, you will find this philosophy everywhere and in every religion. But how do you live like that? To bend neither one way or another, according to the grandson of Confucius. Leaning into moderation involves a kind of trust in life itself, that what moderation will reveal will be able to hold us and sustain us in a way that our indulgences can't. But for most of us, particularly in the good times, moderation is a hard sell. In moderation, we don't remove ourselves from the world, nor get lost in it. And those are the two things that our indulgences do for us. Sweet relief. The champions of moderation tell us that when we are hurting and fearful, we want to run and be anywhere but having to sit and feel what's happening. And that's the hard part of the moderation thing. That's what we must do, is just sit there and take it. But when we do, it awakens a kind of bravery in us, a kind that we all possess. It's to behave like an unswerving pivot, according to Ezra Pound, and he wrote beautifully about it. At the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards, at the still point, there the dance is, but neither arrest nor movement. And do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance, and there is only the dance. Our COVID-fueled days of staying home has put us all on these tiny little lab cages. We are ripe for doing experiments on ourselves, and we've certainly all found our weak spots already, haven't we? See how we react when the busy structure of our lives gets blown up. See how stress and anxiety pull us apart. I think that's where this interest in moderation in all things has come from. For me, back in April, I thought, if I am going to get through this, I'm going to need a measured approach, some way to see this through in a leveled way, a slow, steady march through to the other side. because I found out it's my extremes that are causing me pain, my indulgences. So that not only am I feeling distraught about the world, I hate myself too. Bonanza. But the big take-home and turn-off for me about moderation has always been that I thought it meant cutting off the highs. It meant pulling back from my tabula rasa, seize the day mentality. It felt like turning away from life instead of embracing it. And that seemed so wrong. So the entire concept of moderation was no fun, quite the downer. But since go big or go home has disappeared from the daily agenda, I'm reading the moderation in all things differently. The revelation I've had are in the words, in all things. In other words, look at everything. It's telling me to include the things that I always ignore. There are big swaths of the day when I'm not paying any attention to what is actually happening. What if moderation in all things is really a call for more instead of less? That would mean an upgrade of attention to a whole host of things that we don't even look at as we lurch forward toward our favorite dopamine highs. Like making this moment as alive as your first bite of dinner, as the first drag on the first cigarette of the day. Being as aware in this moment as we are choosing a sweater online. That is actually not a retreat from the world in any way. That is a full engagement with it all. Moderation is like moving from sprinting to long-distance running. More, not less. And bonus feature, the more attention you pay to every aspect of your day, from staring out the window to brushing your teeth to bathing your kids, the less extreme your indulgences will look. This lagom time we are facing is a call to discover our weak spots, which is what our indulgences are, and take some of that obsessive attention you lavish on certain activities and spread it around. It's about filling in the blanks. Moderation in all things is choosing to bring alive everything we do, to stop being selective about where we spend our attention. This is the time to turn up the volume and include the neglected and ignored stretches in our days. How much are we missing? It's time to push forward into all things. And, like Pound said, to dance at the center of it all.